This demonstration is over different ways to import data into Microsoft Excel version 2010. There are many different sources to import data from. The first example on importing data I will give is from a text document. To import data, first go to the Data tab at the top of the screen, and then in the first section, Get External Data. From a text document or any other document, you would select From Text. The Import Text File box opens, and you can select which document you want to import into Excel. In this case, I want to import the document Water Density. So I select that and click Import. There are different options to choose from when importing data. The option Delimited means that there is something separating the different data sets. The option Fixed Width means that each column is a specific number of characters long, then there's a space, and then there's another column of a specific number of characters. I'm going to use Delimited to import from this data. After selecting Delimited, then I select Next. As you can see by the black line showing in the preview, it is already delimited or separating the data into two separate columns at that location. And the delimiter is a tab, so this original data had the individual data sets separated by a tab. Other things that can separate the columns of the data are semicolons, commas, spaces, or anything else you specify. I'm going to leave it as tab and click Next. This particular window allows you to choose the format of a specific column. Normally it picks the format as general, but you can change it to text, date, or even tell it not to import a specific column. None of these options I need to change, so I'm just going to click Finish. Now it's asking where I want to put the data. Since I want it on this worksheet, I'm going to leave that selected. If I leave it as A1, it'll try and enter it into this top corner where there's already data present. Instead, I'm going to change the location to A7 and select OK. Now that data from that text document has automatically been imported and placed in the cell A7 to whatever range the data needed. As you can see, this is already very nicely formatted. The only thing that I would change is to bold the tops of the columns to make them more visible, and to change these to center alignment so the data will be aligned better underneath their specific column titles. Now we can try and import a different type of data file. If we go back to Data, From Text, I'm going to import Thermocouple data, which is a specific file associated with Microsoft Excel, but in this case the data is separated by comma, which is the CSV, comma separated values. Click Import, Delimited, Next. I'm going to select comma in this case. And you can see in the preview that by selecting comma, it lines these up in nice columns. If I remove comma, it tries to stick them all into a single column. Once again, I do not want to change the data format, so I'll just click Finish. And here, I want to insert the data to this cell. Press Enter and then click OK. You can see when you scroll that the data has once again been entered, although in this case I would like to wrap the information within the cells and change the column width. As you can see, unfortunately, it did not automatically resize the height of the column, so I'm going to manually do that now. Once again, I'm going to center and bold, and then center the data underneath. There are two examples to import data from files. However, you can also import data directly from a website. I'm going to move to my second tab, which I named Boulder. This tab I named Boulder because the data I want to import into the spreadsheet is climate data from Boulder, Colorado. If I open up my web browser, this is the climate data from Boulder, Colorado, and as you can see, it's already nicely formatted on the website. So what I do is I highlight and copy, Control-C, the web URL, and go back to Excel. I do Data and Import from Web, and paste it here. It goes to the website that I'm looking at. These arrows you see here will allow you to choose what portions of the data to import. I'm going to select this inner arrow to import just the inner amount of data, although I think in this case it doesn't make a difference. So I'll select Import, And since there's nothing else in this data sheet, I'll select OK for entering it in the first cell. But as you can see, it did not import it in a very nice manner. Although the data was separated well on the website, it was still single lines of data rather than a table. Importing a table from a website is much easier. If I go to Astoria, which is another city I'm working with, and back to the web browser, here for Astoria, Oregon is additional climate data that has been organized into rows and columns. I Control-C, copy that, and go back to Excel, and go to this website instead, and just select this table on the inside. If I import it to the first cell, you can see that this automatically imports it and converts it into rows and columns. If you want the data from the Boulder site, it's not completely useless to use that website. You just have to do it in a different manner. So I'm going to open up a new worksheet, and I'm going to name it Boulder 2. And now when I go back to this website, I'm going to Control-A to select the entire website, and then Control-C to copy. And I'm going to open up a notepad document. Control-V to paste it in the notepad, and it pastes it almost exactly the way it appears on the website. Since the web page was purely text and there was no formatting, using Notepad will keep it as purely text. Now, saving this, I'm going to name it Boulder. I close and go back to Excel, and I import it from text once more, and I open up Boulder. My data has been inputted into rows and columns, with the exception of the text at the top and the bottom of the screen. Since this was separated by spaces, every time there was a space, it tried to separate even the words into their own cells. So what I'll do is I'll delete that and go back to the beginning and delete this. And the only issue is it no longer has any column headers at the top. So I would have to go back to the website and find the names of these columns and relabel those. One more thing I would like to cover is a copy and pasting technique. For example, if I copy this set of data, Control-C to copy, but I don't want it in a column, instead I want it in a row. If you select your new cell and go to Home, and then click on the arrow below Paste for Paste Special, here you can choose to transpose it, which will move a row to a column and a column to a row. You can also do the same thing by right-clicking and finding that same option here. And now my data has been pasted into a row. This is extremely useful to know when you are importing data from an exterior source, because you may have the data that is completely one single row when you need to separate it into columns.